Welcome back everyone, Keyline Pa here. Jing Yuan's character and light cone banners were released last night officially, so I wanted to make this video giving my opinions on the light cones as well as the characters and how much you should be summoning on these banners. So to begin, the characters on the limited raid up banner are going to be Jing Yuan, Tingyun, March 7th, and Sushang. And the light cones are going to be Before Dawn, the 5-star Jing Yuan light cone. And for the 4-star raid up light cones, we're going to have Planetary Rendezvous, the Harmony light cone with Asta on the cover, and Only Silence Remains, the Hunt light cone with Dan Hung on the cover, and Day 1 of My New Life, the Preservation light cone with March 7th on the cover. The release date and end of the limited banners will be dependent on your region that you're currently playing on, and you can find that exact date and time of the release and end of the banners in the in-game notices. This will be synced to your computer's time, so you can tell exactly when you should be getting on the game. And as you can see, since I play on the North American servers and I'm in the Mountain Standard Time Zone, my Jing Yuan banners will be releasing on May 17th at 4 p.m. Now that we got the basics of the banner out of the way, I want to talk a little bit about each of the characters' kits and then their Eidolons and then the light cones in their Eidolons and talk about the value of each one as we go through them. To start off, let's talk about March 7th because this one's probably going to be the fastest since everyone has her, but her skill gives a shield based on her defense percent for 3 turns, and if the person who gets the shield has 30% or more HP, they're more likely to get attacked. Her talent allows her to counterattack if any shielded ally is attacked, and this scales on her attack percent, while her shield scales on defense percent, so it is mixed scaling. Her ultimate scales off her attack percent and has a 50% base chance to freeze enemies for 1 turn. And then her little technique here will cause her to do ice damage to the enemies, as well as give a chance to freeze an enemy. She has a trace that allows it to have a cleanse on her shield, which is very helpful when a lot of enemies apply dots or CC or various debuffs on your character. And then her other trace allows her shield to have an extra duration to 4 turns rather than 3. This one here is going to allow her ultimate to have a higher chance to freeze enemies. For March 7th's Eidolons, her first one will allow her to recover energy every time her ultimate freezes a target. Her second one will allow her to automatically grant a shield to an ally with the lowest HP upon entering a battle that lasts for 3 turns. Her third Eidolon will allow her ultimate and basic attack to gain some free levels. Her fourth one will allow her counter to occur 1 more time per turn. If you remember, her talent allows her to counter 2 times per turn. With this, it'll be 4 times per turn, as well as her counter will scale off her defense by 30% and not just only her attack. The fifth one will give her levels on her skill and her talent, and the sixth one will allow her shield that is caused by her skill to restore HP equal to 4% of their max HP, as well as 106 bonus healing at the beginning of each turn. Now, if you are summoning this banner, you probably want to see March 7th pop up the least when you are getting your 4-star characters. However, her E4 and her E6 are pretty valuable. If you are playing Fire MC, pairing it with E4 on this will allow her to be able to do 3 counters pretty much every turn, and it does do pretty decent damage when it does scale with the defense. I'm not going to say it does amazing damage, but it is some pretty good shielding and chip damage. If you do end up getting E6, that will be exceptionally helpful if you don't have Bailu or Japar for clearing some of the endgame content like Memory of Chaos, or just allow you to sustain without having a healer on that team. And now for Tingyun. If you don't know who she is or what she does, she is considered one of the best 4-star characters, if not the best 4-star character that we currently have. Her skill grants Benediction to an ally that increases their attack by 25% up to 15% of Tingyun's current attack. What this means is that if your current character's attack in battle is going to be 2000, you're going to be able to gain an attack buff of 500 maximum, but this is only the case if your Tingyun's attack at the current moment is going to be equivalent or greater than to 3,333. So to be able to maximize this skill, you're going to want to build your Tingyun with attack on pretty much all the pieces that you can get for attack percent, except for the boots. You're probably going to want to put speed boots on her. For the rest of the skill, when the ally with Benediction attacks, they will deal additional lightning damage equal to 20% of that ally's attack for 1 time. Benediction lasts for 3 turns and is only effective on the most recent receiver of Tingyun's skill, meaning only 1 character can have Tingyun's skill buff at a time. And bear in mind that these percentages will be going up as you level up the trace level. For her talent, when an enemy is attacked by Tingyun, the ally with Benediction immediately deals additional lightning damage equal to a percent of that ally's attack to the same enemy. Meaning that whenever Tingyun attacks, the ally's Benediction passive or buff will deal lightning damage as well too. Her ultimate will regenerate 50 energy for a single ally and increase target's damage by a percentage for 2 turns. And then her technique will immediately cause her to regenerate 50 energy upon using her technique. For her big trace nodes, her speed will be increased by 20% for 1 turn after using a skill. This paired with speed boots as well as her high base speed, which I believe is the second highest base in the game right now, which I believe might be 104. Sela is probably 115. This will allow her to get past the 134 speed breakpoint to be able to get 2 turns on the first turn and go ahead of most of the trash monsters. And this top node will allow her to immediately regenerate 5 energy at the start of her turn, and this right node increases her basic attack damage by 40%. For her Eidolons, the first one is going to allow the ally with Benediction to gain 20% increased speed for 1 turn after using their ultimate. The second one will allow the ally with Benediction to recover 5 energy after defeating an enemy, and this can only occur once per turn. The fourth Eidolon will allow the damage multiplier provided by Benediction to be increased by 20%, and the E6 allows the ultimate to regenerate 10 more energy for the target ally, where the base is 50, so now it'll be 60. And if you couldn't already tell, all of these Eidolons are pretty good, which makes her usefulness go even higher than she already was, which is why a lot of people are looking to E6 her on this banner. However, I will say, unless you are looking to drop some big money on this game over a long period of time or a short period of time, I would probably say just take what you can get. If you are very close to maybe the 4th one or the 6th one or something like that, feel free to go for a few more multis or summons. But remember, building pity for the next banner for a thing you don't necessarily want might not be the best choice. For say, for example, if you don't want Jing or you already have Jing and you don't want the extra copy of him, then maybe you shouldn't try to push past like 30 or 40 summons on pity to try to go for that, because there are going to be a lot more good 5-star characters to come in the future as well. And for the last 4-star character, we have Sushang, and for her traces, her skill is going to be a physical damage single target ability that has a 33% chance to trigger Sword Stance on the final hit. Sword Stance deals additional physical damage equal to a percent of Sushang's attack to the enemy. And if an enemy is inflicted with weakness break or their shield is broken, aka their shield is broken, Sword Stance is guaranteed to trigger. Her talent allows it so that if an enemy has their shield broken, Sushang's speed will be increased by a percent for 2 turns. Her ultimate is a large single target physical damage attack that immediately causes her to advance forward, which means she'll basically be able to her ultimate and take another turn right afterwards. And her attack will be increased by a percentage. When she uses her skill, it'll have 2 extra chances to trigger Sword Stance for 2 turns. And what this also means is that if the enemy is weakness broken already, it'll deal the Sword Stance an extra 2 times. And the Sword Stance triggered from the extra chances deal 50% of the original damage, which means that this damage here will be cut in half if Sword Stance previously procced on that hit prior. Her technique just causes AoE physical damage to occur. And for the big trace nodes, the left node is going to make it so that she's less likely to be attacked if she has 50% or less HP. The right node is going to allow Sword Stance to deal more increased damage the more times Sword Stance is triggered, up to a 10 stack count. The top node is going to allow, after she does a basic or skill, when there is a weakness broken enemy on the field, for her action to be forwarded by 15%, allowing her to have more potential to move up and skip people in the turn order. And finally, for her Eidolons, the first one will allow her to regenerate a skill point when she uses her skill on a weakness broken enemy, aka someone without a shield, which is pretty broken in my opinion. The second one allows her to get damage reduction up to 20% for 1 turn after triggering Sword Stance. Pretty okay. And her fourth one will allow her break effect to increase by 40%, which is pretty good. And then which is going to be a bleed, by the way, the break effect for physical. And then her E6 allows her speed boost to be stackable from her talent up to 2 times. Additionally, after entering battle, she immediately gains 1 stack of her talent speed boost. This is pretty good. Remember, her talent allows her to gain a speed boost whenever an enemy has their shield broken or whenever a weakness break effect occurs. In regards to how much you should pull for her, if you don't have 2 good damage dealers already, I think E1 is really a good stopping point. However, if you want to go higher, E6 is a pretty big, nice boost for her, and she is, I believe, the 3rd highest single target damage dealer in the game currently, with it being Sela, then Yinqing, then Sushang, and then Jing Yuan. But if you aren't looking to spend big money on this game, just like Tingyun, I do think you should just maybe stop at E1 and hold your summons for the other 5-star characters to come. As for the 4-star light cones, we're only going to briefly talk about them because I don't think there's something super amazing that they are a must pull, as there are maybe some free options that you can use in the meantime until there are better light cones to come. But for the first one, Only Silence Remains, the Danheng light cone. This one's a pretty good one. However, we already have the 5-star, fake 5-star light cone that we get from the simulated universe that is equivocal or slightly better based on how you want to view the effects and the base attack increase of this fake 5-star compared to the 4-star one here. This one is good if there are two or fewer enemies on the field, but even if you are going to be using 2 hunt characters on the team, you still can use River Flows and Spring, which you can get copies of in the Forgotten Hall. And this one pretty much allows you to get a speed and damage buff until you get hit, and then after your turn ends, you'll regain the buff again. So as long as you have a character that can shield like Japard, maybe Fire MC or March 7th, this one can be viable as well. For the Harmony Light Cone of Planetary Rendezvous, this one's pretty good, especially when you look at the max level variant. Harmony characters are kind of usually the buff characters of the game. However, I think right now in this early stage of the game, we don't really have a whole lot of capability to do mono teams. Down the line, I absolutely do think there will be a lot of mono teams available, but this is going to be a non-limited 4-star light cone that you will end up getting over time and potentially, you know, get a good amount of copies, so you don't have to concern yourself too much with it right now. Day 1 of my new life, I think, is a pretty good preservation light cone, as it increases the wearer's defense and increases their damage resistance of all allies by a percentage during the battle. The effects can't stack, but that's not that big of a deal because you're probably not going to run multiple preservation characters on the team unless you're running like March 7th and Fire MC. But regardless, this one's pretty good because the free options aren't very good right now, with Wildfire being one of them that reduces damage for only a certain amount of turns and restores HP when you enter battle. You also see a lot of people using the defense light cone to be able to heal their character when using their ultimate. So if you do end up picking one copy of this one, that is going to be pretty nice. But if you're not interested in picking up Jing Yuan's light cone, I probably wouldn't summon on this light cone banner personally. And now for Jing Yuan, the man of the hour. Jing Yuan is a lightning erudition based character that has skills that will deal lightning damage equal to a percent of Jing Yuan's attack to all enemies, and increases Lightning Lord's attack count by 2 for the next turn. We'll get to what Lightning Lord is in a second, but his ultimate will deal lightning damage equal to a percent of Jing Yuan's attack to all enemies and increase Lightning Lord's attack count by 3 for the next turn. And his talent passive is going to be dealing with the Lightning Lord, where summons Lightning Lord at the start of the battle, and Lightning Lord has a base speed of 60 and 3 base attack count, and its attacks are considered follow-up attacks. Each count of Lightning Lord's attacks deal lightning damage equal to percent of Jing Yuan's attack to a single enemy, whose adjacent targets also receive lightning damage equal to 25% of the damage dealt to the main target. So 25% of this damage dealt is going to be dealt to the side, left, and right targets and do a pseudo AoE. The Lightning Lord's attack count can reach to a max of 10. It starts at a base of 3 and can go all the way up to 10. Every time Lightning Lord's attack count increases by 1, its speed increases by 10. After the action ends, speed and attack count return to their base values. When Jing Yuan is knocked down, the Lightning Lord will disappear. When Jing Yuan is affected by crowd control debuff, the Lightning Lord is unable to take action. I know that's a lot to take in. So what essentially happens is Lightning Lord is considered kind of like another character, will have its own turn on the turn bar and have a base speed of 60 and 3 base hits per time they attack. If you ever watch a video of the Lightning Lord, you'll see the Lightning Lord's sword or spear or weapon will come down and deal multiple hits over and over again, and that's what those base hits deals with. And that's where the skill and the ultimate take count, where if you use your skill, you'll gain 2 more attacks, so that'll go up to 5 attacks, and it'll go up 20 more speed to 80 speed. And then here also, the ultimate will allow the skill or the Lightning Lord to gain 3 more attacks, which will make it go to 6, and then gain an additional 30 more speed. Now, so there is the potentiality to get 10 stacks if you use characters such as Tingyun or Bronya. So you could do something like Jing Yuan's skill, then Bronya to speed him up, and then do another skill. So you'll have a total of 7 stacks, and then you can ultimate to get 10 stacks there. You can also do something with Ting, where you can do the ultimate, and then maybe some E's, and then the ultimate again at some point by utilizing Tingyun, especially if you have E6 Tingyun. But keep in mind that you don't need to have 10 stacks all the time to do a lot of damage with them. It's okay if you have less than that, so don't worry if you don't have Bronya or a super juiced up Ting to be able to do all this fancy damage. He still will be a great arsenal to your account if you do end up having him. As for this end bit here, basically what this is saying is if Jing Yuan's dead, then Lightning Lord is not going to be there. And when Jing Yuan has some CC, such as a freeze or imprisonment or something like that on him, then Lightning Lord can't take action. So it is probably going to be helpful for you to have some sort of cleansing on your team, such as Bronya, if you do have her. I personally don't have Bronya, but I still will be summoning him, as I do think he's a pretty cool character and does some pretty nice damage. However, I will say that the likelihood that he does get power crept in the future is fairly viable, especially because only thing he does bring to the table is going to be damage, and he does kind of need a lot of people, or want a lot of people, to maximize his damage. That being said, damage being the only part of his kit isn't like a negative or anything, but knowing these types of gacha games, there is the potentiality of some other characters to be released that not only do damage, but also bring some sort of utility. So I don't consider Jing Yuan a must pull unless you highly value the early game progress, which he will absolutely be super helpful and beneficial to completing the end game at an early point. But if you are looking for maximum value and you're in it for the long-term play, he could definitely be a skip. Who knows? Maybe I'm absolutely wrong and he's super crazy busted, and if that's the case, he'll always likely have a rerun banner just like they do in Genshin Impact. Or you could just wait and see how people utilize him on a budget scale to see how he is in Memory of Chaos, the end game that we currently have, and then decide a couple days later if you actually do want to pick him up or not. As for the 5-star light cone before dawn, you probably have been hearing a lot of people commenting about this light cone, saying it's absolutely busted, it's super nuts, but I think it's just kind of okay. It's really good on Jing Yuan, so if you are a really big Jing Yuan fan, it is likely you should maybe go for this, but let's go first talk about what this does. It increases the wearer's crit damage by 36%, increases the wearer's skill and ultimate damage by 18%. After the wearer uses their skill or ultimate, they gain Somnus Corpus. Upon triggering a follow-up attack, Somnus Corpus will be consumed, and the follow-up attack damage increases by 48%. As you can see here, this perfectly lines up with his kit, dealing increased damage with follow-ups, which is what his Lightning Lord is, as well as increasing the damage of his skill and his ultimate. Now, the reason why I say this one's just kind of okay, and I think it's a little bit overhyped, is because not all Erudition characters in the future are going to be having a follow-up attack. So this is how Hoyoverse is going about it, to make a light cone that is really good for the character that it's intended for, but still is going to be a light cone that you're not going to likely be using for other characters if you plan to summon for them, because they'll be releasing a light cone that is specifically tuned for them as well too. So once again, if you really like Jing Yuan, cool light cone, but I do want to show you some damage comparisons, as well as some free to play or budget alternatives you can go for. So first, let's go with the alternatives. So if you want, there is going to be a 4-star light cone that is going to be called Seriousness of Breakfast that you can get from Forgotten Hall, as well as I believe one other place to get some copies of, but you can max this out for free, and what the effect does when you max it out is it increases the wearer's damage by 24%. For every enemy defeated, the wearer's attack increases by 8% up to 3 times, so meaning it'll be a 24% increased damage bonus and 24% increased attack bonus if you defeat 3 enemies. The other alternative is going to be a budget alternative where you do have to get the battle pass, and you will want to pick it up once to 5 times, ideally 5 times, and that one is going to be called the Today is Another Peaceful Day, with Qing Chui on the cover art. This one is going to have the effect of, after entering battle, increases the wearer's damage based on their max energy. Damage increases by 0.2 at superimposition 1 per point of energy up to 160. If you don't know, Jing Yuan does have 130 energy cost, so what that does mean, I believe it's a 26% increased damage bonus. It'll be 0.2 times 130, it is 26%, and if you do max it out, it would be 0.4 times 130, which is 52% increased damage bonus. You can also see here if the base attack on this light cone itself is 529 compared to the Seriousness of Breakfast alternative, which is 476. So you do want to take that into account. The Before Dawn light cone does have a base attack of 582. And then the other thing, if you do want to do the math of superimpositions in between, you definitely can do that. Just know that it does go up 5% every single time you get a superimposition for the math on that. But also bear in mind, to be able to get the BP light cone to max, it is going to take 5 patches. Each patch does roughly last, I think, about 45 days, something like that. So that is going to be a long time before you can max this one out if you are going for that budget route. As the last 4-star alternative that you can end up using, it is a gacha light cone. It is the Birth of Self, the Herda light cone that increases damage dealt by the wearer's follow-up attacks by 24%. If the current HP of the target enemy is below or equal to 50%, increase damage dealt by follow-up attacks by an extra 24%. I don't think this one's necessarily that good just because it is a conditional damage bonus, but we'll get to that in a bit. And for the last part of this video, I want to show a damage comparison of the attack versus speed comparisons, as well as the crit and attack relic accessory sets and the light cone damage differences. So to begin, in this first section, you have the attack speed and the relic accessory comparison here, where this first bar here is going to be a speed build with the S1 Before Dawn light cone and on the crit rate set at E0 for the sphere and rope. On the second one, you have the speed with the Before Dawn with the attack set at E0 as well. And so you can see here the damage difference between these two is not very high. So if you end up having the 5-star Before Dawn, it may be better to pick whichever set bonus you end up having that is of better substats. But remember, Before Dawn does give crit damage, which probably values that crit rate even higher. So if you aren't using a light cone with crit rate, it could be that the attack is higher or they are more balanced out. Down here under the attack build, you're going to have still crit rate on top because once again, the Before Dawn crit damage light cone on there. And then over here on this second section, you have the one that you should probably more care about for this video, the comparisons between light cones. The S5 5-star Before Dawn light cone, you'll see the damage boost goes way up here, but this is pretty much for those whales that do end up spending a ton of money on the characters. So this is down here is the more reasonable, relatable part for us, where we have S1 Before Dawn at 334.3 thousand damage, and then you have the S5 Peaceful Day, the Battle Pass light cone, at 296.8 thousand damage. Remember, this one will take you probably about 7 months to max out if you are wanting to get to this point. You have S5 Birth of Self, which was that Herda light cone that I showed earlier. I don't know if this damage is showcasing when the enemies are 50% or lower, so I can't comment on that. I would like to say it probably is based on how high this damage output is, but I could be absolutely wrong on that. And down here you have S1 Peaceful Day, the one that you could probably end up getting right now with buying the Battle Pass at 260.6 per thousand damage. And then you have S1 Birth of Self over here. Then S5 Seriousness of Breakfast at the low point of 248,000 damage, which is probably what I'm going to end up using, but we'll see. But you can see here the difference between S5 Seriousness Breakfast and the 5-star light cone is pretty severe. If you are a Jing Yuan fan, like I said, it's probably likely you should go for this. But if you want to go for the long term, definitely this is a viable option that you are, a little over 10% weaker than somebody who does have the 5-star light cone. Down here, you'll see some other damage bar charts of different things, such as the AoE damage from S1, S5 weapon comparisons, as well as the E1 AoE damage, and if you have E1 Jing Yuan as well. I will put this chart in the description below if you do want to take a look at it yourself. Alright, that's going to be all for this video, but I do want to give a quick TLDR because this video was packed with a lot of information. March 7th, very good shielder. If you can get E4, E6 on her, pretty darn nice, especially if you don't have a secondary healer shielder on your account, but it's absolutely not a necessity priority that I would not summon for if you did not have to. Tingyun, amazing buffer in this game. Very good to have at least one copy of, so definitely look to get that. If you can get Eidolons for her, then definitely go for that. Sushang, amazing physical damage dealer, one of the highest single target damage dealers in the game. If you can get E1 on her, very, very nice, but I would not necessarily force it if you are very close to pity at all. Jingyun, super amazing, good damage dealer. I think is going to be exceptionally strong in Memory of Chaos, dealing with the boss monster, elite monsters, and side monsters they tend to summon. However, his kit utility only brings damage to the table, which could be something iffy in the future. But for now, I'm going to say he's super awesome in the short-term game to be able to beat the end game content. Absolutely reasonable if you do want to skip him, but I will personally be picking up at E0 or yeah, E0 to try them out on my channel, as well as my Twitch stream if you want to see some of that. For the light cones, I would not summon on the light cone banner if you are not intending to go for the 5-star light cone. However, if you do want to try to pick up one copy of the preservation light cone, it can be pretty nice to get that defense bonus as well as that damage reduction for your entire team for something like Fire MC. The hunt light cone is pretty forgettable because you can replace it with some other stuff of some equal, lesser, higher value. The Harmony light cone I think is an absolute skippable one right now, because right now it doesn't bring enough value until we get more characters. For the 5-star light cone, it is a really nice one. However, it's only really nice on Jing Yuan as of now. It's not going to be maybe so great on the future Erudition characters, but it could always be a case where other Erudition characters do have follow-ups down the line, and it can be good there too. There are the 4-star alternatives where if you can get the BP 5 times, that does take around 7 months. The damage difference between 5-star, 4-star, maybe around 10%. And then the other ones, Seriousness of Breakfast is quite a bit off from the 1-star, or getting one copy of Before Dawn. But if you can't afford any of it, it's an okay use case. If you end up getting multiple copies of Herta's Light Cone, that may be the better choice if you are full free to play, or you just don't really want to pick up the BP Light Cone or the 5-star Light Cone for him. But once again, that's going to be all. Thank you all for watching. I appreciate you all. Make sure you leave a like and comment down below if you are going to be summoning for any of these things. Make sure you all subscribe to the channel for more Honkai Star Rail content. Join our Discord to be part of our Star Rail community. Follow me on Twitch to see me play Star Rail live and maybe get some help there. And follow me on my socials to see more content as well. Thanks again once again for watching, and I'll catch you all next time. Peace.